Kent Malinowski here with Chet, Tart, selling in a time of crisis. On our last video, we talked about strategy, adjusting your mindset, adjusting your value proposition, coming from a place of trust. Today, we're going to talk more tactically. How do I sell in a time of crisis? What do I do? What do I say? How do I make sure that I get back to work and do things in a way that don't appear insensitive, predatory, or devoid of empathy? So, Chet, we're going to talk today about the tactical side, the tactical changes you have to make to support the strategy of having this intent of helping people as opposed to trying to sell them something. It's not sell me, it's help me. So today we're going to talk about tactics. And the key word I want to give you on the tactical side is stop selling.
So how do we fill that void from stop selling to?
I'm going to say this, the alternative to stop selling is that instead of trying to sell someone something, whatever your value proposition is now, I want you to disqualify them. Come from a place where you're attempting to disqualify them because it's not a fit. So it's the exact opposite of being predatory. It's the exact opposite of, I'll give you a metaphor, the vulture waiting on the power line for the squirrel to get hit by a car. We'll do the exact opposite of that behavior. Instead of trying to push someone toward a sale, toward a free trial, toward anything in your value proposition, it'll be tactically turning it around and stopping selling them.
That's powerful. That's powerful because that's the philosophy even Disney had. Do business differently. Winston Churchill did things differently. So if you look at the great leaders, you're absolutely right. I can't wait to get into this session to see how to do things a little bit different.
So we know that when people are in a highly emotional state, you can either win big or lose big. And the way to lose big, and with prospects who are living in this ocean of emotion, the way you can lose big is by acting in a way that violates those rules of social conduct. And one of those social conduct rules is trying to act devoid of empathy. Now, I'm not talking about having sympathy. I'm talking about having empathy. You know the difference?
Yep. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay. Tell me your definition of the differences between the two.
Sympathy is just feel sorry for you and really no, hey, well, I'll pray for you or whatever. Empathy is understanding what you're going through, and through stories of my own, I can relate to what you're doing, and then I also can advise, help, ask questions so that it's not so intrusive. That's
I like
what I
that.
look at.
And sympathy invokes an emotional reaction on your part. For example, I had a coaching call with a salesperson not too long ago. We were exploring the emotional hijack that was going on in his own mind about why he felt so paralyzed, why he was feeling so bad about picking up the phone and making prospecting calls. And here's the connection that I got, the indication of what the belief system was. Here's what his belief was. If I call you now as a prospect, I am taking advantage of you in a time of crisis. So by sympathizing with that feeling, he was paralyzed by it.
Correct.
So I want him to shift to mindset from being one of sympathizing. So the emotion would keep him from doing the behavior. A fear kept him from acting. And guess what? The fear was artificial. You know where the fear came from?
His subconscious, which is part of an unknown.
Exactly.
Which is part of his belief systems, because that's where everything comes from.
So if your belief system if you believe doing prospecting behavior is taking advantage of people, then how in the world are you going to do something that violates your belief system? I said, if you make that phone call, you're going to feel, how are you going to feel? He said, uncomfortable, of course. I said, and what reaction are you going to get? What outcome are you going to get? Not a positive one. So that outcome reinforced the negative belief, and the cycle continues.
What you did also was help him be self-aware of who he is, because he probably was never aware of that. And that took him to another level. And my belief system, I was never aware that my belief system was holding me back. And now you made him aware. Would you agree that?
That was it. It was a breakthrough moment for him.
Right.
The other thing that came out of the conversation was he felt guilty. I said, well, explain that. He said, well, I feel guilty that I'm being paid by my company and I'm not working.
Another belief.
Another belief. He said, even though my company has told me it's okay, he said, I still feel guilty. And that led to some feelings of some deeper things. So can you imagine how powerful these feelings are? And once you become self-aware of the feelings, then it just becomes the next step, which is how do you regulate those feelings? And the short answer to the long question is, in this formula, one must adjust what they believe before they can change the way they act.
You're right, and they got to be aware of it. What you're not aware of controls you. And I think as a coach coaching him, you had a major breakthrough. I think the next step, tell me about this, is that you got to continue with that habit of getting him out, because he's going to fall back into that belief habit again. Do you not agree?
Exactly. And so the step in the coaching regimen for folks is to rewrite the belief that's not supportive of their endeavor. So if it's to create the belief that you want to have. I said, so here was the exercise I took him through. I said, how do you want to feel when you're making calls to prospects? And I said, give me the list of adjectives. And this was the exercise that led to the crafting of the new belief system. He said, trusted, as a trusted advisor, comfortable, confident, of help, of service. So that was telling me these were the beliefs that he wanted to have. And we needed to work through the task of rewriting the negative message, the negative belief, and replacing it in the subconscious with the positive belief. And by the way, there's an app for that.
There is?
There is. Check it out. It's called, one word, Think Up. I'll put a link in the description of the email below, or in the video below. Think Up. It's an app that you can run that has you rewrite your desired belief system. You record it in the phone, and then it creates for you a way to play back these messages so they anchor in your subconscious. And the rules for creating positive self-affirmations are they have to be in the present tense. I am. They have to be the positive belief that you want to have. And you must avoid the contraction with the word not in it. I can't, I won't. So it has to be, an example of would be something like this. I am comfortable and confident when I make prospecting calls because I am a trusted advisor to people and they want to talk to me. A bad example would be, I am not a salesperson. I am a trusted advisor. The word not does not anchor in the subconscious, so you have to write all of these in the first person and in the positive present tense.
You know, you said something incredibly powerful there, Ken. I'm not sure you can pick that out, but I can. It's called I am. That's used throughout the Bible. I am. And when people would teach that, they said, what do you think that means? It is one of the most powerful statements that definitely directs our subconscious. I am. And when you fill in the blank, you are. So to do something, you must first be something. I am is powerful. You know, what you're saying here, Kent, is sales isn't that easy. There is a lot of components to this. First of all, you got to be yourself. When I coach people, it said every great leader needs to know themselves. So what you're saying is every great salesperson needs to know themselves also.
It's the science we call emotional intelligence. There are 5 components. The first and the most powerful and most impactful is self-awareness. Being aware of the emotions that affect you and the effect that your emotions have on other people. So that's the power of belief, self-awareness, and a true anchor before making any changes to the tactical moves that you have to make, which is the topic of our next video. And as a preview, you'll see on the screen, these are some of the objections that prospects are giving salespeople now when they make these phone calls, and we have to adjust our playbook accordingly. Things like, oh, I'm too busy, we're all working from home, or we're all in lockdown, the budget's unclear, the budget's frozen, we're not meeting with any vendors at this time, we need to wait until the dust settles. And if you wait for the dust to settle, that's a recipe for failure. So stay tuned. That's the topic of our next video.
Thank you, Kent. Very enlightening.